November 8th, 2016, Election Day. We are finally here, and things are just going predictably crazy. We have a lot of stuff to talk about today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, and twiddling the dials, keeping us out of trouble, ready to answer the phone when you call on in. Right now, for those of you trying to get on board with the chat room or anything like this, the What Really Happened server has been under immense attack all morning. We're not the only people. WikiLeaks servers have been hammered on all morning long, trying to keep them from dumping any more information. And it's just getting to be very intense out there, and they're using all kinds of new tactics that my system is not really able to deal with. We're just going to have to grit our teeth. This is the last day we're going to have to put up with this tantrum behavior. And it's not like shutting off my website is going to significantly alter the outcome of the election anyway. If anything, it's kind of an act of desperation by these people who basically bet on the wrong candidate, and they don't want to be wrong, so they're willing to go on out and cheat to have their way. And it says, unfortunately, a lot, not just about political corruption, but the decline of the American character. Now, I remember when I was a kid, we selected leaders that were going to inspire us to be better human beings, and instead it seems like these days, election after election, we elect leaders who lure us down to be more criminal and more corrupt. And it is true that all hierarchical structures inherit the manners and moralities of those at the top, whether it's a corporation, a school, a business, or a nation, and that certainly seems to be the case here right now. All righty, now, voter turnout is at record levels. This is going to be the biggest turnout to vote for the past 23 elections if it stays up, and of course, the complete wild card here in all of this are the independent voters who basically were not being included in all the various polls that the corporate media has been running. So at this point, it's really out there. It's kind of wild. We do know that there are indications in Hillary's campaign of a little bit of a panic going on here. Apparently, she earlier today ordered a whole bunch of her volunteers from Ohio to skedaddle on over to Pennsylvania because things are not going well for her over there. Now, a couple little program notes. Programming notes, as it were. Remember when the Clinton campaign, in a desperate attempt to start to woo back the black voters who have been deserting her campaign for Donald Trump, decided to resort to star power, and she had Jay-Z and Beyonce who came on out to give a free concert at Hillary's rally. Well, as it turns out, it wasn't free. In fact, Beyonce and Jay-Z were paid, I'm not kidding you, according to endingthefed.com, they got paid $62 million to show up in Cleveland and do the concert at Hillary's rally trying to woo back the black votes. And it turned out to be a bit of an embarrassment because after Hillary Clinton was chastising Donald Trump over his language, Jay-Z went on the stage and he's doing F-word this and N-word that, and he's just all over the place. And really didn't work out as well as Hillary would have desired. Now, Lady Gaga showed up at a Clinton rally, and we can presume she was paid plush sums of money the way Beyonce and Jay-Z were. And she showed up in this black uniform with an armband that a lot of people said, it looks like a Nazi uniform, and Hillary's just saying, oh my goodness, this is so wonderful to have you out here. Now, the independent private poll called the Trafalgar Group has Trump leading in the swing states, Pennsylvania, Florida, Michigan, Georgia, Utah, and Nevada. That may be why Hillary had some of her people split from Ohio and get on over to Pennsylvania. Now, despite this, I want to emphasize something. You have to get out and vote for Donald Trump today. Okay? Don't listen to the news about how Hillary has already overwhelmingly won this state or any of this other stuff that's going on out there. Trump needs to win, and he needs a landslide to overcome the election fraud. So forget about the media. Don't even pay attention to what I'm saying about the projections and stuff. Make sure you get on out there, wear your red shirt so that everybody can see that you're out there. But the early indicators are good. The high turnout is definitely a clue because history has shown that you get the highest voter turnouts when people want to change. They don't come out in droves to maintain the status quo. They come out in huge crowds when they want to kick the current system out. We're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are rejoining our network from outside. We are, of course, talking about the campaign. We're talking about some embarrassments that have come along. And the early indications are that Trump does have a chance to actually pull off a miracle and beat the election riggers. RonPaul.com had their own poll. Donald Trump got 56% of the vote. Gary Johnson got 27% of the vote. Hillary Clinton only 6%. We, of course, ran our own poll on our website, and I know we're playing to the already converted here. Trump 98%, Clinton 2%, who I assume are the people who are in the website looking for ways to wreck it and derail it and so forth and so on. It's the old taco house and pizza parlor analogy I've used many, many times before. And not too surprisingly, we are getting huge numbers of reports of election fraud all over the country. Over in Luzerne County, they had voting machines where people are pressing the button for Donald Trump. The votes are flipping to Hillary Clinton. Somebody even actually got it on video showing how it happens. And these are not touchscreen computers. These are actually button panels where you touch the button and it will not let people vote for Donald Trump. And, of course, we're always getting, oh, it's just a calibration error. Really, it's just a computer glitch. Really? Where are the computer glitches that are keeping people from voting for Hillary Clinton? Where are the glitches that flip Clinton votes to Trump? If it's an honest mistake of some kind, it should break both ways evenly, statistically. But all these glitches and miscalibrations, they always seem to favor Hillary Clinton. Stop telling me it's just a glitch. We're seeing outright election fraud before our eyes. Now, over in Philadelphia, things have already gone outside the area of legality. The election workers have already kicked all the independent observers out. And there's a video now of Philadelphia union workers trying to intimidate Republicans not to go in and vote. There's illegal electioneering all over the polling station. They've got Democratic signs all over the polling stations. That is illegal. There's supposed to be no partisan materials anywhere in, or for that matter, even near, within 100 yards of the polling place. There can't be any signs for Clinton or Trump, and it's just all over Democrat. It's completely illegal. And the lawsuits are being filed already. Up in New York City, very long lines, lots of machine errors. Machines being broken. Machines are failing in predominantly Republican areas. Out in Van Nuys, California, they went on in and the voting machines were outright missing. Just outright missing. Now, Project Veritas has got another video out there in which they're over in Gary, Indiana, and they're interviewing the reverends of some of the local churches who are bragging about how they're telling their congregations to vote Democrat. You will get out there and vote for Hillary Clinton or you're going to go to the dark places and burn for all eternity. Little technicality here. It is a violation of their 501c3 tax-exempt status to advocate for a candidate in a campaign. What they're doing, they're committing a crime, and they're risking the tax-exempt status of their church. If Trump pulls this off, I think he ought to go to those churches and yank their tax-exempt status, because they're not playing by the rules. Okay, over in, KSL-TV, Washington County is reporting more early morning voting glitches. They were so bad they had to resort to paper ballots. And apparently there was something wrong with the memory cards on those electronic voting machines. Remember hacking democracy? You can change the election outcome by playing with those memory cards, but if somebody made a mistake, the cards won't work in the machine. And they're saying basically roughly 1/4 of the machines were not working correctly. And they didn't know it until the polls opened. My goodness, nobody thought to test them the day before. So they're working on paper ballots over there, but they're going to run out of paper ballots. Now, down at the Herb Skolnick Center in Pompano Beach, there was a disturbance that resulted in 2 precinct clerks being fired, and apparently it centered on a Democratic Hillary supporter pepper spraying a Trump supporter. And there's the new face of the Democratic Party. Thuggery, brown shirts, pepper spray, threats, intimidation. The Republican National Lawyers Association is out there saying Broward is stealing Florida, and we know Broward was at the center of that firestorm back in 2000. And apparently there are 180,000 mail-in votes that have not been legally counted. This is going to end up in court. And basically it comes down to, and we reported this yesterday and last week, the Office of the Supervisor of Elections, Brenda Snipes, was opening the absentee ballots before they could be approved by the Broward County Canvassing Board. And there were reports that Republican ballots were being discarded. Now, again, in Broward, there's an elections worker who's gone public claiming that she was fired for reporting on how elections board workers were filling out absentee ballots. And the elections board is saying, no, they were transcribing damaged military ballots, which is allowed under the law. But there's absolutely no way to know. There's no way to know that they're not cheating this. The system is set up to allow cheating. Now, Hillary's final swing trying to win the minority votes is kind of rocky. She was over in Los Angeles doing an appearance in a Latino neighborhood. She got booed off the stage. She lasted just 1 minute, and then she just threw up her hands and had to walk off the stage. She was being booed at by the crowd. Maybe she should have gotten some big rock star or comedian or something to get up on the stage for her like she did over there in, with Beyonce and Jay-Z, but it didn't really work. And I'll tell you how bad things are, how divisive this election are. There is a Harvard professor, tenured, guy by the name Levinson, who has been lecturing to his classes that Donald Trump did not get 50% of the Republican primary vote. That's a flat-out lie. Doesn't mention that DNC lawyers have already admitted Hillary's entire primary was rigged. And then he goes on to say that it might not be a bad thing for riots in the streets if Donald Trump wins. This is just completely out of control. More leaks have gotten out from WikiLeaks despite the DOS attack on their servers. They're revealing tremendous, massive Soros funding trying to manipulate our election. And I have a real problem with that. Soros is trying to run this country. He's not elected to that job. And he's just thrown so much money around. He's tangled up with one of the voting machine companies. And I really do not like George Soros because he's one of these money junkies who believes that having that much money gives him a right to treat the entire planet and all of the human race as his own personal plaything. Oh, let's see, we're going to move all the Muslims from the Middle East into Europe and into the United States. We're going to move the Central Americans into the U.S. It's going to be wonderful. We'll have a global government. Everybody will sing around the campfires, hug each other, and sing Kumbaya, which has not worked out all that well. Another Podesta email has revealed that Arianna Huffington has been using the Huffington Post, or as it's being called these days, the HuffPo, to echo Hillary Clinton's messages without any acknowledging there's a conflict of interest there. And yes, Huffington Post was one of the media entities that was invited to John Podesta's secret off-the-record dinner party. Now, one of the things that came out of WikiLeaks is apparently Hillary Clinton is still facing perjury charges regarding her testimony in the attack on the consulate in Benghazi. And as we mentioned before, the Internal Revenue Service is probing the Clinton Foundation to see if it actually is eligible to be a tax-exempt charity. And if they determine it isn't, for things like, using the foundation money for Chelsea's wedding, then there's going to be one heck of a tax bill forthcoming. Now, we're still seeing the aftermath of FBI Director James Comey, basically last Sunday saying, no criminality, we're not changing our mind about prosecuting Hillary Clinton. And you remember back when the State Department first got the first 31,000 pages of Clinton records? And they said, it's going to take 5 years to process these. It took the FBI a year to go through the 33,000 pages, and Comey wants you to believe they got through 650,000 emails in just 10 days. Nobody is buying this. And by the way, contrary to Hillary's supporters, this did not clear Hillary. It did not exonerate her. James Comey actually admitted Hillary is guilty of violations of Title 18. All they're saying is, we're not going to prosecute. We're not going to prosecute, and you can't make us nya. Now, not too surprisingly, FBI agents are now starting to go public saying that FBI Director Comey was blocking their investigations every step of the way, along with Attorney General Loretta Lynch. This whole thing was a cover-up. And that's what voters need to remember. There's a cover-up going on. And it almost doesn't matter what is being covered up. The existence of a cover-up is sufficient reason not to vote for Hillary Clinton. All right, let's grab a couple of phone calls. Ryan Dawson, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, a long time no see. A couple of points. I posted a story about the voter machines in Pennsylvania. I just got another story in from Louisiana where when they turned the machines on, there were already votes on them, all for the Democratic Party. And a reliable story. Yeah.
Ooh, imagine my shock.
Yeah, imagine my lack of shock, as you like to say. But the commissioner was on the phone there, and I got this recorded because I've got people whistleblowing in. I put out it doesn't matter why. But I got a recording of it, and he's saying this is the 5th time he had to do this from different parishes in Louisiana. The 5th time, so at least minimal 5 machine that this guy knows about already that were already loaded with votes when they turned them on. A little bit different than what happened in Pennsylvania. That's where they were flipping the votes. They were pushing Trump or they were pushing Republican all ticket, and it was flipping over to Democrats. So if these are all errors, why are they always in the favor of Hillary?
Yeah, that undermines the claim that they're just mistakes and glitches and errors. Statistically, an error is going to fall on either side equally and negate itself. But when you see all these errors constantly favoring Hillary Clinton and the Democrats, you know it's a fraud. And, no platitudes from the corporate media or the election officials or the government is going to change that perception. This is a fraudulent election.
And I had a second point. This gets darker. You were talking about James Whitewash Comey and the Podesta emails. The Podesta emails are interesting to me because I was looking back into the Pincus Green Mark Rich pardon scandal, which they basically paid the Clintons to pardon them. Rich got a lot of the attention, but Pincus Green, that's the individual who's involved in these sinister human traffic rings and things like that. When they were selling prostitutes, I remember we talked about it on the show a long time ago when the Israeli ambassador to Brazil was caught with the kiddie porn and everything.
Yes.
They were using this code back then where food was swapped in for boys and girls and semen and so on. And a lot of these same code words are popping up in these Podesta emails. Now, I haven't verified this yet because there's so many of them, and I'm reading through these, but it's very interesting and really stupid if they're using the same code.
Okay, Ryan, I'm going to have to put you on hold. I want to keep you over the commercial and bring you back after these words from our sponsors. Aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. We're talking with Ryan Dawson, and Ryan, you had more information about the voting irregularities, to use the politically correct term.
Yeah, well, I keep getting them in. But it's good that, everybody, when you go to vote, make sure you bring a cell phone camera or some sort of camera just in case you see this. And these are only the votes that are visible. We don't know how many are being stolen when you may push Trump and it secretly goes Hillary. Some of the voting machines are set up with lights or they have a review. So check that review. Don't just say, okay, okay, okay. Look at it, because a lot of them are accidentally flipping to Hillary.
And they're just hoping people won't notice.
Yeah, and, some people won't. Elderly people go in there, they hit Republican, and they just assume it's going through. You have to look and see where the lights are, if it's that kind of style. And then, of course, we've had in Louisiana so far, and it looks like I'm getting some more in, where right when they turn the machines on, they're already stacked with votes and only for Democrats.
Yeah.
This isn't like in the past where people couldn't contest. Trump is a billionaire, so if we find enough voter fraud, like you said, always force a dictatorship to act like one, he actually does have the means to have an investigation. This isn't like in the past where votes have been stolen, there have been corruption. People have not had the money and means to fight it in court, but Trump will. So
now you know that at Trump's campaign website they have a form to fill out when you find irregularities. We've got it linked to the front page of whatreallyhappened.com. And I would definitely encourage you to forward this information to them using this page here, because they were trying to force Trump to say he'll accept the election results, and he said we'll see. And I expect him to fight back. I mean, there is absolutely no reason why anybody should accept the results of an election in which fraud has been demonstrated. Al Gore didn't. Donald Trump shouldn't, and I certainly won't. If this election is stolen,
Hillary supporters too should not want this to happen, because look, if you allow this to happen, the next election down the road, it could be stolen from you too. I mean, it may have already been from Al Gore. Nobody should accept voter fraud.
No,
she may win anyway,
zero
she
tolerance.
may not, but everyone should be against this.
My view is very simple. Okay, if the leaders cheat the elections to seize power, they are not a legal, legitimate government, and we should not obey them. We should not pay their bills. We should certainly not sacrifice life and limb of our children in their wars of conquest.
Well, absolutely not. Well, I'm going to fill these out, and as I get them in, I'll put them up on Rise 2 Cents. I was putting them on your site, but you're getting attacked.
Yeah, we're absolutely being hammered here today, and we were kind of expecting that was going to be the case. And they're going to throw their tantrums, and they're going to have the little brown shirt thugs are out there doing what they're supposed to do. Because they're true believers, they serve a higher purpose. To heck with the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the rule of law. We serve the Empress Hillary. And
she's out there making Al Qaeda great again.
Yeah,
accepting money from Qatar and Saudi Arabia.
Well, I see all those people out there with the ISIS flags going, "We're stronger together."
Yeah.
She's
been backing out al-Sham too, and they got a 9/11 hijacker.
In her own way, Hillary Clinton is a rather amazing woman. She's the only person I know who got a letter from a Nigerian prince and actually got the $20 million.
She's gotten a lot of letters from a lot of princes.
Yeah, and a lot of millions of dollars. All right. Anything else, Ryan?
Well, just quick shout out to Dare County, North Carolina. Hillary supported closing the beaches and Trump doesn't, so she won't be getting any votes from there. All
right, well, good for that one there. We're going to switch over to Andy in Texas. Andy, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, aloha, Mike. What's on my mind is that, hey, welcome to America. Look what we got. We're in a new country now. I think Donald Trump is beating the pants off of this woman, but, what are they going to do? But
what they're going to do is they're going to declare Hillary the winner and just stand there and say, we dare you to do something about it. But that could be very reckless. We might use the Charles I solution, or the Mussolini solution, or the Ceausescu solution, or the Louis XVI solution.
Well, revolution, either way you look at it.
Yeah, very much so. Anyway, Andy,
I have one more thing to say.
All right, I'm going to hold you over the commercial break, so stay on the line. We'll come right back to you. And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. We're talking with Andy in Texas. Andy, you had something else you wanted to share with us.
Yeah. The real reason I actually called you, sir, is did you happen to see a story in the news about some very young child running around the streets of New York trying to sell his stuffed animal to get food. I mean, where have we gone as humanity when this has to happen? It's a real story. It's true. It's honest. It's there. I mean,
I'm not surprised. I mean, we've got a lot of homeless young people selling themselves on the streets right now. I mean, we look around Hawaii. This is supposed to be an island tropical paradise, and I mean, the homeless problem is just epidemic. But the money junkies have got very comfortable lifestyles, and they got money to give to Israel, and money to give to Wall Street, and money to spend on wars of conquest. And we, the American people, have got absolutely nothing left here. And Hillary Clinton wants us to vote for more of the same. And we're not voting for more of the same, but they're going to, I greatly fear they're just going to say, Hillary won, prove we're wrong, we dare you to do something about it.
Well, you know what? If I bumped into that little kid who was asking to sell his stuffed animal, I would buy him a meal, and I would make sure his stuffed animal was taken very good care of. I mean, because that's just the kind of guy I am, and I think most Americans are. And I think we got to have Donald Trump, or this show is over.
We're in interesting times. We're hearing that apparently there's some military conflict happening over towards Russia, and I'm still trying to get the information on that up on the website. But things are really, really out of control. Anything else, Andy?
No, that's it, my friend. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate RBN. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much here. And before I take another phone call, I got a reader email here. It says, I know you hate asking for donations, so I'll make you a deal. Ask for donations today on the show, and I will donate $100. It's time for your audience to man up and pony up your pal, and I'm not going to name the name, but there, I did it. And he's right. I have a real hard time asking for money. That's why I'm going to die broke. All right, we're going to go back to the phone. Steve in California. Aloha, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, when you had callers calling in talking about the flipped vote from you vote for Trump and it flips over to Hillary, we're not talking about. You're totally right on this. There should be equal probability odds. It's like flipping a coin. You got a 50-50 chance, so if it happens to one, it should happen to the other also. So we know that's fraud. But that's not what I called about. I called about what's your information on the 501c3 tax status of how much percentage do you actually, is there any rules and regulations to say you have to give so much percentage of what you take in to actually qualify? Because 5.7% of the Clinton Foundation supposedly goes to the cause, which the rest is then going in somebody's pocket or bureaucratic costs or whatever, administrative costs. But there must be some stipulation. I don't know it that well. But
there is. There is. You have to spend the majority of the money you take in on the charitable objective of your foundation. That means 51%. And you're not allowed to just spend the money on things outside what your original charitable charter is supposed to be. If you set up a charity for unwed mothers, which is my personal favorite, 51% of your money must go to be helping unwed mothers. You're not allowed to all of a sudden start sending money over to clowns who are in rehab because they've been lurking around neighborhoods and things. And so
you would say the Clintons are in clear violation then?
The Clintons are in clear violation of the law, and apparently the IRS down in Dallas has been investigating for about 4 months. But again, the Clintons operate like they're untouchable, and that is a very scary thing. This nation was founded on a principle that nobody is above the law, including the president. And we have become a nation ruled by powerful individuals who are above the law. It's like a return to feudalism, where the laws are only for the serfs and the workers, and the nobility is allowed to do whatever they want to do. When Countess Ursabat Bathory was committing her serial murders, taking village girls and literally freezing them to death just for the giggles, they literally had to change the laws to allow her to be prosecuted for her crimes.
Well, last thing, my mom called me this morning because she voted up in Indiana, and she mentioned, I don't know if you talked about it because I caught your show about 20 minutes late, but a couple of women showed up at a voting station there that I guess had trench coats on, took them off, and they were nude, and they painted something anti-Trump stuff on them and started running around the precinct, which I just have to laugh at the people who actually support this woman. I mean, they are the bottom of the barrel of humanity.
Yeah, and they have the nerve to call us deplorables. You know,
Right.
We're not the ones hacking servers of peace activists. We're not the ones beating up the opponents. We're not the ones hiring thugs to go into the opponents' rallies and commit acts of violence. We're not the ones running around naked, although I don't really have a strong objection to topless girls. But, they are acting deplorably compared to the society at large, and they call us deplorable. And it's almost been a symptom of the psychopathy of Hillary and her supporters. They're doing all these horrible things and then scream, oh no, it's the other guy. It's the Trump people who are doing this. We're just sweetness and light here. We don't use bad words except for Jay-Z on the stage, and that's covered by the First Amendment. And it really is, it's hypocritical.
It really is. I have a friend who tells me we're living in interesting times, and I tell him, I just rephrase, I said, no, we are living in bizarre times. FBI doesn't do their job. The Attorney General doesn't do her job. The President whispers down, don't find charges. Emails are destroyed. I've never seen so much corruption in an election and for a candidate. This blows me away.
Well, this is certainly the worst that I've ever seen, and I've been studying this closely for over 20 years now. And it's almost like they're not even all that concerned about hiding it. I mean, the thing that really weirds me out is you'd think with all the money that Hillary has, that she would find people who could write the election machine software so it's not obvious the votes are being stolen. But when you're hitting a touch screen and your vote flips over to Hillary and you can see it, what's the programmer thinking? Like you're not going to be paying attention? I mean, that's poor quality code writing. And the fact that these machines had to be taken out of service because apparently the memory cards were rigged, but they were rigged badly, and they jammed the machines when they went in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I can only assume that the software changes were done in a warehouse, and some guy shows up and is a technician and with his little patch on his uniform saying he's there to do some repairs on the machine. And, of course, all they're doing is installing the software to be used at a later time to rig this whole thing.
I don't know. I'm starting to think they got all this election stealing software from the same people who did the Obamacare website.
Could be.
Okay?
Could be. Hey, thanks, Michael.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to take a phone call from James in Ohio. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I wanted to report, the 100-foot rule at the polling booth where you're not supposed to be handing out literature?
Yes.
Well, Broad Street Presbyterian Church in Columbus, Ohio, I pulled up, and these people are like, they look like drug dealers. Just see the body language. They were being really sketchy, trying to feel you out if you were, somebody there they should approach or not. And I kind of, went around the corner and kind of watched them for a while, and they kept sneaking up to right by the front door and handing out the whole Democratic ballot. This is the whole list of Democrats to vote for.
Well, I'm not surprised they look like that because, if you think about where Bill and Hillary Clinton's political fortunes came from back in the 1980s, that CIA gun and drug running operation, every drug dealer in America is on Hillary's side because, if she loses this election and Trump shuts down the CIA's cocaine pipeline, they're out of business.
I was going to tell you, the body language was so... They just look like such obvious crooks up to something. And so like I said, I watched them for a while, and, I spotted them totally breaking the rules. I went inside and told Ted Mitchell, the poll manager, I said, you've got people out there breaking the 100-foot rule. He goes, what do you want me to do about it? I said, do your job. Go out there and stop them. He goes, I go out there every once in a while, and it's like this long glass windowed hallway, and they can see him coming from like 5 minutes away. And as soon as he starts walking down that way, they go running across the street, back into the 100-foot zone. I said, you got other poll observers down here? He goes, yeah. I said, well, keep one out there. These people are being crooked. And he goes, if you continue this, I'm going to have you reported for intimidation.
Well, see, that underscores the fact that the people actually in those polling places, the election workers, are part of the problem. And they're part of Hillary's machine. I mean, it really is completely crooked from top to bottom.
And the one when I got up to him, he had like 2 sets of pamphlets. And when I came up to him, he said, I'm just here to make sure that your rights are being observed. But then when somebody else came by, he goes, here's the Democratic ballot. So the guys are the election observers types. they can go and talk to him and get beyond that rule. So they were kind of doing a switch and bait, and they had a bag where they would hide with the pamphlets and stick them back in the bag again when people came around they thought were suspicious, and it was just a joke. And I just want to report that I'm going to hang up, I'm going to click that link, and I'm going to let the Trump people know this was a joke. And I got pictures and video and all of it.
Yeah, it's definitely ugly. You know something? I'm going to put that report voting irregularities link up at the top of my page permanently, assuming you can see it. But you can go to Donald Trump's website, and it's right there. Report voting irregularities. Got to scream bloody murder about this. You know, I'm sure somewhere out there in the dark places, you know, Joseph Stalin is laughing his head off at just how the United States has descended to the worst depths of the Soviet Union.
So I've been going back to this polling place. It's right around the corner from me. I keep going back in there and looking for the observers. They're nowhere to be found. And I walk in, and I go, where's the poll observers? And they go, And I go and I find them in the back room sitting there drinking coffee, playing on their phones. And I go, where's the poll observers? And they go, we're right here. I go, what are you observing, your coffee cup? You know? It was outrageous. I got to hang up. I'm so mad. Thanks, Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot here. We're going to switch over to Jim in New York. Aloha, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, how are you, Mike?
Well, hanging in there.
All right. Hey, I came up with an idea. I wanted to get your opinion. The reason why they have not indicted Hillary, this is my personal view, is because if she's not indicted, she cannot be pardoned.
No, I don't think that makes any sense at all. I mean, she should be indicted, charged, and convicted, because even if she's pardoned, she still cannot be allowed to hold public office. Actually, Louis Gohmert is out there saying the reason the FBI is refusing to prosecute Hillary Clinton is they would also have to prosecute Obama himself on that same evidence. Because he did lie to us about, he did lie about knowing about the private server. He did use the private server. They can't really charge Hillary Clinton without charging Barack Obama himself.
I understand, but if you want to get Hillary, if you don't indict her, then she can't be pardoned. Once Trump gets in, then they indict her, and I don't think Trump will pardon her.
No, Trump will not pardon her. Trump will go in with Trey Gowdy as the new Attorney General, and they will start putting these people into prison. And good. It's overdue. And this is not revenge, and it's not vindictiveness. We need to create a deterrent. The problem we have had is for the last 20 years, those people who are in Congress or the White House have come to truly believe they can do whatever they want and get away with it. And we have to basically disincentivize corruption. And we have to make a horrible example of these people so that up-and-coming politicians are going to say, maybe I ought to, mind my behavior a little bit better than my predecessors did.
Absolutely. They'll think twice before they do it. Well, anyway, that was my thought on that, and hopefully Trump wins in a landslide.
I certainly hope so, because that's the only thing that's going to save this country, and for that matter, the entire world.
I agree with you, Mike. I agree. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed, and we should know later on. Okay,
and everybody get out there and vote. Wear your red shirt. Don't listen to the media when they say Hillary's already swept the state. It isn't over until it's over, and every single vote literally will count. Remember 2012? Florida was decided with less than a single percentage point. If you stay home, you are part of the problem.
That's right. Get out there and vote.
All righty. So we're going to switch over to Dana in Oregon. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi. I was thinking about the Dakota pipeline, and I was wondering if you know what Trump's feelings are on that, and if it's true that he has some stocks in that company that's building the pipeline.
I'm unaware of whether he does or not, but you do need to remember that if Trump wins the election, all of his wealth goes into a presidential blind trust, and that blind trust will probably trade the stocks around to conceal where Trump's wealth is. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Okay.
So Trump will not be operating as president with an awareness of whether or not he's got stock in the Dakota pipeline.
Okay, what about before he's president? I mean, is there anything he's going to do to stop what's happening?
He can't do anything. He can't.
are against the people.
He can't.
They're supposed to be working for the people.
Hey. He can't do anything until he takes the oath of office. Even if he wins the election, he's still a private citizen until he's inaugurated as president.
Right.
Okay?
Okay. I just wanted to know if you know his feelings about that.
No, I don't know his feelings on that. There are, unfortunately, larger issues we need to be looking at, like war with China and war with Russia. Thank you for the call, Dana. We're going to let you go and switch to Rob in Chicago. Rob, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I know I appreciate people thinking about, all those good things out there, but we have our efforts. If Hillary does succeed in being, stealing the election, or they steal it for her, because there's no way that with all the numbers out there, the mass people that are just pouring out to Trump's rallies and that he can possibly lose. But if they do put her in, then what we have to do as citizens to say we're done with the system is everybody goes in to their human resource person and changes their deduction to no withholding, so that we don't have any money going to the federal government. If we get 100 million people doing that, the government will run out of money quicker than you could say, oh, you know what?
No, the Federal Reserve will just create what the government needs. They're already doing it. That's what the whole deficit spending is all about.
You're right.
Okay. No, what we're going to
send one heck of a message.
Yeah, it'll send a heck of a message, but what will also send a message is national strikes, sitting down, not going to work and not generating taxable income, refusing to fill out the paper forms, refusing to put the stickers on stuff, refusing to listen to the government, and certainly, first and foremost, refusing to send our children to be killed and crippled in these wars of conquest. All right, we got to take a break for commercials. Thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We'll be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go back to the phones. Alan in West Virginia. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Alan, are you there?
Yeah, I heard it click off. I thought maybe you hung up on me.
No, not at all. You're on the air. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I have a question. I was watching Fox News earlier, just flipping around to see what was going on, and there was this older gentleman that was at the place where they deposit in these boxes the paper ballots.
Yes.
And then after he deposited about 4 or 5 ballots, and they walked on through, there wasn't nobody behind them, he turned around on a shelf and he had a stack of ballots and he stuck one of them ballots in the box. Can anybody explain that? Why would he do that?
I have no explanation. I didn't see it on Fox News. It was a video of somebody stuffing ballot boxes?
Well, all I can say is that evidently it was the Fox News camera or something there where they was allowed to stand back far enough to where they could watch people putting the ballots, giving the ballots to the older gentleman, and he was putting them in that wooden box. It looked like a wooden box. And then after they walked through, then he reached behind him and grabbed another one. I don't know if he forgot he was on camera or what. He grabbed one off of a shelf. But I wouldn't think that you would leave a ballot laying on the shelf for any amount of time.
No, I don't think you would. And again, even if there's a benign explanation for this, it only underscores that our voting system is so sloppy that we don't know what's really going on. And I remember when they did the movie, The Recount, with Kevin Spacey about the 2000 debacle in Florida, and Kevin Spacey at the end of the movie has got this line, says, "I'd really like to know who actually won this election." And, that's where we are right now. We don't really know who's winning the elections. We only know who's stealing them.
Right. I think we pretty much know who's going to win, who's winning, but that's not the way it's going to happen. We know what's going on. But that's all I had to say, because I thought maybe it was, I don't understand it. I thought maybe after every 4 or 5 votes, he had to put a piece of paper in there. It didn't make sense to me.
No, that doesn't make any sense to me either. That doesn't make any sense to me either. All right, thanks an awful lot, Alan. We're going to switch to Hutchie Hatch in New Mexico. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, aloha, Mike. How you doing today?
Doing fine.
Hey, I I've got something that's been bugging me all day, a couple things. And one of them is that Newsweek photograph of Donald and Hillary standing there, like, practically holding hands. And I'm just wondering, in an opinion of yours, is that photoshopped or what?
No, basically, there's a formal ritual when you have debates, which is you scream at each other and then you shake hands to show no hard feelings when it's all over. But I think far more interesting is that Newsweek has apparently already put together an issue congratulating Hillary on her presidency, which could turn out to be as embarrassing for Newsweek as the Dewey beats Truman headlines in the newspapers of that election. Hutchie, we're going to let you...
Let me just say...
Well, hang on. I have to hold you through the station identification. Stay on the line. I'll come back to you.
Okay.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. And we're talking with Hutchie Hatch in New Mexico. And you had one more comment following the Newsweek has already put together its magazine to congratulate President Hillary.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to kind of second on the last caller. And that is, I mean, our voting process, I've never seen it different. I'm 58 years old. I've never seen it better than this. It is just completely stupid.
Yes.
And
it's designed that way.
Yeah, whether we win or lose with Hillary, we need, as people, to push a rock up a hill and get this crap to stop.
Well, if Hillary steals this election, there will be no change to the election system whatsoever. Okay? Vote fraud never prospers. Why? Well, because when it prospers, we don't call it vote fraud, to paraphrase. And that's exactly what it is. The people in power today got there through election fraud. They're not going to change the system because that's what keeps them in power. That's what keeps their access to your wallet. That's what keeps their ability to take your children and send them off to be killed and crippled in their foreign wars. If Trump overcomes the election fraud and there's a landslide sweep, okay, then we're going to have a window of opportunity for the next 2 years to basically take sledgehammers to all these electronic machines.
Well, 50 million people in Washington would look nice, wouldn't it?
I think it would be better with 100 million. Well, and I think it's entirely possible. I think it's entirely possible. Anyway, Hutch, we're going to let you go and switch over to Ron in the Bronx. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. Aloha, Mike. Hey, man, from the get-go, I thought when Comey came out with this new investigation, I thought it was a smoke and mirrors to distract us from the WikiLeaks. And then Comey would clear Hillary, and Hillary would be like, aha, I got cleared again.
No, what happened with that, Comey's hand got forced, because let's face it, nobody's believing the FBI went through 650,000 emails in 10 days and was able to examine them thoroughly, not when it took a year to do 33,000 emails. What forced Comey's hand were two things. One, the New York Police Department was getting ready to go public with the fact that they'd found the files on examining Huma Abedin, Anthony Weiner's laptop. Second, Judicial Watch had filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit for all the FBI's records in the email investigation. Now, the way the law works, once the FBI closes an investigation, they have to turn all the documents over in response to a Freedom of Information Act request. None of them can be withheld. There's no national security involved in this email issue that they're aware of. Okay? So, in order to block Judicial Watch, Comey has reopened the investigation, and it's still technically open. All he said on Sunday, he didn't say he was closing the investigation again. He's keeping it open so Judicial Watch can't get those documents. And he just said, we've looked at the 650,000 emails, there's no criminality. And they're just going to keep the investigation open to block access to the documents. They did exactly the same thing in the Tylenol poisonings case. They just kept the investigation open year after year after year after year after year so that citizens' investigation groups could not get access to the documents of the actual investigation to find out what had been going on. And that's what Comey is going to do.
Yeah, but the NYPD, I've been hearing this for a while now, and I don't think they have anything. I mean, wouldn't they have come out by now?
It depends on the amount of political. It depends on the political pressure being put on them by the mayor of New York, for example, or the Justice Department. I mean, there's a lot of backroom deal making and threats and blackmail going on. There was that bogus story about the dead FBI agent, and people were wondering if it was a hoax or if, in fact, it was a veiled warning for everybody to just keep quiet, these next few weeks until the election. But Comey's hand was forced on that issue, and he dealt with it the best that he could, but he wound up making the FBI look like a bunch of doofuses.
One more point. What do you think of Edward Snowden saying, yes, it was possible for them to check all those emails?
I didn't see where he said. I know Wired magazine said that. I don't know that. I haven't seen where Edward Snowden said that. Anyway, listen, Ron, we're going to let you go. I got a bunch of news I got to cover. Thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're hearing now from Pastor James Law in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Their voting machines are flipping votes from Trump to Clinton. So this is a statewide problem up there. This is a statewide problem, and all those Pennsylvania voters have got to stand up and just make a really, really big stink about this. Because they're stealing your state, they're stealing your country, they're stealing the White House, and we cannot allow that to happen. By the way, one of the checks that is traditionally used to search for vote fraud is the exit poll. And we're going to take a second here and do a shout-out to our on-air affiliates who are rejoining the network. And one of the ways that they double-check the official results of any election is with the exit polling. And both the United Nations and the United States State Department say that if the exit polls differ from the official results by more than 2%, it suggests election fraud has taken place. Now, in the past in the United States, when election fraud has taken place, we usually get some nonsense from the corporate media about how the voters are lying to the exit pollsters. And that's nonsense. In all my years of casting votes, I've never met an exit pollster I knew, let alone cared what they thought about me. But it's complete and utter nonsense. Well, they've decided they're not going to bother with that anymore. This year, they're not even going to have exit polls in 22 states, supposedly to save money. So we're just, for those 22 states, supposed to accept the official results without any question whatsoever. Now then, let's see. Tom in Florida. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Good afternoon, Michael. First off, we had another problem situation here today in the voting in Broward County with the Republican against the Democrat. They basically almost got like a fist fight. That was going on today and here in the news. But I do want to say this, Michael. I don't see too many Hispanics over my precinct voting, but there's some Anglos, I guess you call them. But I heard down in Homestead area of South Florida, there's droves of looks to me like what I'm hearing. There are a lot of them are illegal Mexicans, or they just register them to vote. So this is all by design, Michael, to get these Hispanics to vote and to get basically get the free handouts, and that's the Democratic modus of operandi. Flood this country with illegals. It's all by design with George Soros and all these left-wing freaks that we got running our government, as they're literally trying to take the power away from the white males in this country. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
Exactly what's going on.
No, I mean, Obama came on out and as much as said it's okay for the illegals to vote, nothing will happen to you. Forgetting, of course, it is a crime for a non-citizen to vote in our elections. And, I mean, that's what I mean when I say they're not even trying to hide the fraud. When the President of the United States is out there saying it's okay for the illegal immigrants to illegally vote, that's a crime right there.
Michael, that is treason. Richard Nixon was forced out of office because of Watergate, which is a bunch of bullcrap. But you got this guy that what he said, like you're saying, Michael, this guy should be held for treason. He should be put in, Leavenworth or somewhere. This guy, Obama, should be put in prison for what he did there. Because if Donald Trump were to say, so 10 million white Russians, I need you to vote, and they're illegally here, and he tells them to vote, the Democrats would go nuts. The Democrats would go insane if you had 10 million white Caucasian-type persuasion to tell them to vote, and it was a president like Donald Trump were to tell them to vote. Can you imagine what the media would be doing right now? And how this, they'd try to arrest Donald Trump right now. But since it's a liberal, licky-tiffy, touchy-feely Democrat, Michael Sortero Hussein, Frank Marshall Davis' son, to my opinion, doing what he's doing. It's unbelievable, Michael. And to me, that's the biggest treason I've ever heard of out of any president for anything. What he told them. And I tell you, if this election is lost by Trump, it'll be because he's illegal. And the Mexicans that are, I guess, legally here, that they just got to register to vote.
Now, wait a minute. Tom, okay. The Mexicans, Hispanics who are here and legal citizens do have a right to vote, and we can't take that away from them. That's the rules, and we have to play by the rules, or we're no better than Hillary's supporters who are pepper spraying Republicans in the polling places. So,
Michael, one more thing. This Univision, you got George Ramos, that Jorge Ramos, who Trump kicked out. This guy is the most, you talk about, he does a video about the Klan. This guy is so militant with the Hispanics, it's insane. This guy is like a Loa. I don't know, this guy's Loaz or whatever, but this guy's really very militant, this George Ramos, and this guy's on Univision, and let me tell you, Univision is so slanted to brainwash these Hispanics, and let me tell you, I know a lot of people are very good friends of mine, they speak perfect English and Spanish, and they tell me, Don, this is bad news, buddy. This is bad news for this country, because you know what? You got Univision out there trying to pump all this up, and it's unbelievable what I'm seeing. I live in South Florida. Michael, they don't, like I told you the other day, they don't have them know anyone to speak English. They don't.
Yeah, well, we've seen that in Southern California. Their attitude is, you used to be part of Mexico, you should learn Spanish to get along with us, which is arrogant in the extreme. Now, when I've gone to foreign countries, especially when I've gone to work in foreign countries, I make the effort to learn the language. And they may laugh at my faltering efforts, but they respect the fact that I tried. Okay? But to go into another country and say, you should speak my language, that's considered rude by any definition of the word. Tom, we're going to let you go here. We got a bunch of news to get through. I'm getting emails from all across the country reporting that there are tons and tons of red shirts showing up in the polling places. So it's working. The word got out. People are wearing red, and the voters are seeing what Trump's support really is. Now then, we put up a couple of stories. As long as Comey is going to be dragging the FBI down into the mud, some more reminders that they've kind of already been down there all along. Flashback story from the Washington Post. There was an FBI agent who was tampering with drug and gun evidence. He stole heroin from the evidence lockers to use himself, resulting in the cases against dozens of heroin dealers getting dropped. So these FBI agents really aren't the bunch of sweet and nice people they'd like you to think that they all are here. And then, of course, remember back during Occupy Wall Street, and there was a plot to have snipers kill the leaders of Occupy Wall Street, and the FBI grabbed hold of that case and classified it and said, it's all secret, national security, you can't find out about that. And then, of course, if you just go on back and study the history of COINTELPRO, you will see what the FBI is really all about. They're America's version of the Stasi, is what they are. Donna Brazil is out there, and basically she's trying to play the victim card, saying, of course, she was giving the questions to the Hillary Clinton campaign, but her conscience is clear. She didn't feel she was doing wrong. She was told she was doing wrong, but she was serving a higher purpose, and she served that higher purpose, and she doesn't understand why everybody is on her case just because she broke a couple of rules and gave Hillary an unfair advantage over Donald Trump in the town hall meetings and in the debates. Now, we have been talking about the flood of totally bogus stories pouring all over the net, trying to kookify the net, trying to trip up Donald Trump supporters, embarrass us and everything. And according to this story over in Ib Times over in Great Britain, most of these stories are coming from websites registered in Macedonia, which doesn't follow the ICANN rules in terms of making available who actually is the owner-operator of the website. But this was an organized, well-funded disinformation campaign, and gee, I wonder who'd be doing a thing like that during election season. Now, there's this little bit of whining over in the New York Times. The TV networks face a skeptical public on election night. And they're going on in there as the TV news gears up for 2016's big finale, and intense public distrust in the media is threatening the network's traditional role as election night scorekeeper. Yeah, Because they lie. They've been caught lying before. Talk about playing the victim card. This is out of the New York Times. Boo hoo 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 hoo. The public doesn't trust the corporate media. Let's all feel bad for those highly paid prostitutes and correspondents. No, not going to happen. The corporate media has only themselves to blame for the lack of public trust in their reporting, now at 6% according to polls. Whether it was Saddam's nuclear weapons, Assad's sarin gas, the obvious bias toward Israel, the obvious bias toward corporate interests, the obvious bias toward Hillary, etc., etc., etc. They did it to themselves, whoring the news to the highest bidder, and we should not have any sympathy for them whatsoever. And I don't care who the corporate media says wins the election tonight, if it's Hillary. I think we all need to decide for ourselves who the winner is. We got to stop letting these corporate media prostitutes and correspondents do our thinking for us. There's no law that makes it a crime for you to think for yourself. It is your right to think for yourself. They should have put it in the Bill of Rights as an inalienable right to think for yourself and make your own decisions. Now, over at The Guardian, Ben Jacobs went to task on Trump's tweet, "We're going to deliver justice the way it used to be in this county." Now, Trump was talking about voting out the bad people, voting in some better people. And Ben Jacobs said, "Oh, he's out there encouraging violence. Donald Trump is out there, saying violence. He wants to seize the country by bloody revolution." And to their credit, much of the other corporate media jumped all over him for having jumped the shark by such a wide margin. All right, we're going to grab a phone call. Steve in Brooklyn, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Sir, I'm sorry. I don't know if you can do something about it. I just want to report that I'm first-time voting, and I voted for Republican, for Donald Trump. I didn't vote yet. My mom voted. I'm going to the because I just came from work. And I was just surprised. She called me and she said me, "Steve, I come to vote. I just said my name. I just said my address. I didn't ask any ID. They gave me a paper and I did my job and I left." I said, "Mom, how it could happen? It means that anybody from the street could go to any building, go to the mailbox, write the name of the person. Few persons. Going to any place where they vote, it has the name of the person and ID, and vote for the Hillary Clinton or somebody else. How it could happen?" She said, "I don't know." I called to the voting to the election board of Brooklyn. They said that New York City not asking for identification when the person coming to vote. But do you understand that all vote of this, all thinking of the people in this situation is just nothing. They can do everything they want. You understand? Anybody can go to the mailbox, pick up the name of the person, address, going to the voting place, no ID, nothing, can vote for anybody they want.
We were talking about New York. They ended voter ID laws. And the New York Elections Commissioner, and he's in trouble now with his superiors, came on out and said, they're going to take a bunch of people, bus them from precinct to precinct, give them a bunch of names to use, and they're going to register, or they're going to go in and vote using phony names, and they go to the next precinct, and this one busload of people can vote 10, 20 times during the day. That's how wide open it is, the fraud. These elections are so crooked, they're screwing the ballots into the ballot boxes.
I can tell you one thing. I'm sorry to wasting your time, sir. A couple of things last time when my mom come to vote against Obama, she come to the place and they said, "You can vote or not vote, Obama gonna win." In this situation, I don't know. As me, for example, I am a citizen of the United States. I have a good job and so on. What can I do to stop it now or in the future in this situation? If you need my statement, I can say it. If you need me to say something, I'm ready to do it. Because, people are really worried on the job. They're keeping the papers with themselves. But when they realize it's what's going on, so it's making voting in the show, I don't know how to say it.
Well, there's nothing that we can do for this election right now. Okay, but if Donald Trump is able to overcome the election fraud in a landslide victory, we're going to have 2 years to demand a complete top-to-bottom overhaul of the election system. It is possible to have fair and honest elections. The reason the system is so messed up now is it's been designed and whittled down to make it easy to cheat the American people out of their nation. Thank you for the phone call, Steve. We got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back. Aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And apparently NBC4 in Columbus, Ohio, was running live polling during the elections today. And by the way, they've all abandoned the rule saying no reports on election progress until the polls closed. They're reporting during the day, oh, this is going on here. Hillary is sweeping ahead. You Trump people just stay at home. And apparently, as soon as Trump started crushing Hillary in their live ongoing poll, NBC4 just shut it off. Said people don't need to see this anymore. Going to go back to the phones. George in Texas. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey. Well, how you doing, Mike? I got to say my polling experience was pretty good. I went to the polling place. I was expecting to go on the electronic voting machines, but they followed state law. They gave a percentage of paper ballots and gave me a marker to fill in the ballot and put it in a box instead of using an electronic voting machine. They say that's how they check to see if there's fraud by a certain percentage using paper ballots. And then when I exited out, I got the exit poll approached me, and I filled out the exit ballot. But I'm hearing in Houston that and listening on the police scanner that Houston PD are stopping people being bused precincts. So that's a nice thing to hear.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's kind of a gray area because, there are people who are running buses for people who can't drive and get to the polls other ways. But if these people are being bused from poll to poll to poll to poll, they should be stopped. And they should be arrested for election fraud.
Well, the thing is, this is going around all around the country that the police are catching them. Because really, I think since Obama and Hillary threw the police underneath the bus, encouraging Black Lives Matter to shoot police, I think
that's going to come back to haunt her.
But anyway, but that's all I hear in like the voter intimidation in Philadelphia. Where is the Ku Klux Klan Act when you need it, Mike?
Come on, let's not get tacky here. Okay. All right. Well, listen, George, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. Sean Hannity is out there talking about, apparently, NBC4 in Columbus, Ohio is not the only one to have all of a sudden shut down the live ongoing coverage. Sean Hannity is saying the early exit poll data is not pleasing the media. In other words, they're getting a lot more people for Trump than they were hoping to see. And again, this could herald the fall of the large monolithic corporate media. I'm seeing a report coming out of Investment Watch blog. 14,000 people are watching Alex Jones' live coverage of the election results. Only 3,000 are watching CNN. And that is a watershed moment for the independent media. All righty, let's talk about the war zones, emphasis on the plural, because there's a lot of stuff going on that we need to be aware of. There's been another U.S. massacre up in Afghanistan, and it's looking at, innocent people, another demonstration why it's imperative for the American people to stop doing this. Apparently, 32 people killed, 25 wounded, including children. And they're saying this is a continuation of the U.S. policy that targets hospitals, wedding parties, and schools. Now, a story coming out of Russia today. The U.S. is not liberating Raqqa. It is protecting the jihadi proxies in Syria. And we have seen this time and time again, where the U.S. goes on and says, we're saving Syria from the terrorists, and then they wind up protecting the terrorists. And we're still hearing this from the military commanders in Iraq. As more and more U.S. troops show up, the Iraqis are saying, they're just getting in the way. They're blocking us from doing our job. Now, the most alarming piece of news is, and we are getting this from the Daily Mail in Great Britain, apparently Russia is planning a massive attack on Aleppo within the next 24 hours. involving air assets, their naval assets, cruise missiles, and it looks like they're going to go on in and just scrape Aleppo out and get it over and done with. Okay, now then, in fighting near Mosul, 16 U.S. servicemen have been killed, 27 injured. We're going to take a break for commercials, and we'll be back after these few words. And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. And Hillary's Tantrum Squad has succeeded in knocking my site, well, pretty much unreachable. I mean, the server's still running, but it's hideously overloaded. They've been doing that to WikiLeaks and Twitter. And obviously, they don't want an alternative view to the official story that they're concocting to tell America tonight. But once the show is over, I'll get back into my webmaster mode and see if I can figure out how to deal with this insanity that they're trying to deliver. All right, let's go to John in Barbados. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Michael. I don't know whether you can recall yesterday me telling you about this Russian effort in Syria. They were, what I was being told is there's swarms of helicopters, both Russian and Syrian, and they've already taken back one or possibly two districts of the eastern part of Aleppo.
Mm-hmm.
The Takfiris are being crushed. But more importantly now, they're going further east, to beyond Palmyra, towards Raqqa.
Yes.
And it looks like there's a competition going on as to see who can get into Raqqa first, whether it be the Syrian Arab Army or the Kurds, supported by the Americans. But what I have heard is if they lose that, the Americans will pull out of Syria.
That would be really kind of nice, but we're hearing some other stories that are a little troubling. As you know, there was this explosion at a Russian power station in a naval base. Apparently it was enough to where helicopters have been evacuated from the base and are landing on Moscow streets. We had that weird story yesterday where a man was found beaten to death at the Russian consulate in New York. And it looks to me like something is definitely getting ready to happen. And like I said, if it does look like Trump is going to win the election tonight, they're going to start the war with Russia before he can take office.
Well, the other thing that I wanted to point out, I mentioned yesterday about these 80,000 people moving from Ukraine into Russia. These are Western Ukrainians, not the Donbass region Russian ethnic speakers. These are Western Ukrainians moving in, and apparently they're losing so many farmers. According to what I've been reading, say there's a couple of farmers decide to close up and move out into Russia. The whole village closes down and moves with them because they take all their workers with them.
Well, I'm not surprised that people from Western Ukraine are looking to move to Russia because following the U.S. coup d'etat and overthrow of the government, life in Ukraine as a whole has been just really in bad shape. A lot of people are very opposed to Poroshenko right now. I mean, Saakashvili just called it quit down in Odessa, and he's pulled up stakes and he's headed on out. So the whole region is descending into complete chaos right now.
Well, my information on that is that, if you like, it's the people are taking over and are likely to move towards Russia again, just like Crimea did. If that happens, then Ukraine has lost its last port into the Black Sea for their naval vessels. That will be a significant loss.
No, looking at a map, they would still have the port on the Black Sea. Nobody's going to shut them off from that contact.
I believe the whole Odessa region, not just Odessa itself, is falling towards the Crimea view of things. So I'd be very careful, dismissing that because it's quite a possibility. That,
okay, I see what you're saying now. Odessa is going to break loose and go the Crimea route, and yes, that would leave the rest of Ukraine without a port on the Black Sea.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
I misunderstood you before.
Yeah, that's why I understand. That's why Saakashvili's moved out, because he's getting so much opposition from just the general people, the general population. They can see which side of the bread their butter lies. You know.
Well, actually, most of them don't have bread and butter anymore, and that's kind of a big part of the problem there. Anything else, John?
Yeah, so I'll comment tomorrow on this nonsense we call a U.S. election for president.
Yeah, we'll all be commenting on that tomorrow, working through our hangovers and everything. I've already got 2 interviews on other radio networks scheduled to talk about what's happening today here. But
and I'll be watching the live coverage of it, not on the corporate media, but I think I'll be watching Alex Jones's coverage to see where we're going.
Definitely. If you're going to watch the live coverage, go with Alex Jones. Absolutely, without question. Okay?
Okay, Mike. Well, that's all I've got for you today, and good luck in this election, young man.
We're going to need it. I mean, not just our country, but our entire planet is at stake on this right now. We're going to switch over to Bob in Las Vegas. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I'm starting to think that John from Barbados may have had a career in MI5 or MI6 before he shuttled down to Barbados.
Well, it occurred to me, but, I'm not going to speculate.
Yeah, he's got his sources. But, I wanted to say something about the election, but first, are you implying that this fire, this incident in Russia was something that was done from the outside? That was
the word that was being used was firebombed. So it may have been internal sabotage, but they're basically indicating that this wasn't just a simple accident.
Because if you recall, there was a similar. I think there were 2 incidents that happened in China about a year ago.
Yes.
So this is getting scary, and I didn't hear about that individual who was found dead at the consulate in New York.
Yeah, that broke last night.
Mike, this is embarrassing. This electoral system we have here in this country, and you talk a lot about Panama. How I believe only Panama has a worse record or image than the U.S. in the Western Hemisphere. I spend a lot of time in Panama, and Panama's looking pretty good right now.
Actually, pretty much any country on earth is looking a lot better than the United States right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting emails from my friends in Panama, and they're making fun of this country.
Yeah, well, there's certainly lots to make fun of.
So it gets pretty bad when you get denigrated by the likes of Panama.
Yeah. When Panama is chastising you, you've definitely hit the skids.
Right. Okay, I'll let you go. Thank you, Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to let you go here. Okay, now over in India and Kashmir, tensions are flaring up there as well. There's armed conflict between the 2 nations across this disputed border, and apparently India is using a munition that involves something called blinding pellets, very, very tiny particles of metal that blast into the faces of the enemy soldiers to destroy their eyes. And that, to me, that's horrible. It should be a war crime. Like white phosphorus, it should be banned. Now, we were talking the other day about how the Navy has come out with a new whiz-bang high-tech gun that can hit a target accurately more than 70 miles away. Unfortunately, they're not going to be able to use it because apparently the guided munitions rounds for this piece of artillery cost $1 million each. And for $1 million, you can get a cruise missile, which can reach a lot further than 70 miles and hit its target accurately. It's another one of these cases of somebody had this weird idea and didn't think it all the way through. Now, the U.S. Defense Secretary is saying, we can't wait any longer to buy new nuclear weapons. We have to make up for decades of underinvestment. That's ridiculous. We've got more nuclear weapons than anybody else. They started revamping and upgrading our nuclear weapons back under George W. Bush, but it's never enough. for the Defense Department. The military-industrial complex needs more. We need a bomb that can blow up the entire planet, and only then we'll feel safe. It's ridiculous. But that's the whole point of bringing back the Cold War, to take money from you and give it to the defense contractors to build all these weapons we all hope and pray will never actually be used, with the appropriate kickbacks going to members of Congress. It's a scam. It was a scam back in the 1950s and 1960s. It's a scam again. All right, we're going to take another phone call. Alex in Florida, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Michael, not much. Yesterday I felt a little down about the election, but for some reason today I think that Trump might be able to pull it off. But I haven't been listening the whole day because I just got off work. What's going on? Could you just update me on, like, is there voter fraud suspicions and stuff like that?
We're getting reports from all over the country. Apparently, poll workers went into at least 5 precincts in Georgia this morning, and when they turned on the voting machines, they discovered they were already loaded with votes for the Democrats. We're getting reports out of Pennsylvania, all across the state, that people trying to vote for Trump on the electronic voting machines, the votes will flip over to Hillary. It's just everywhere. They're violating the 100-foot rule for electioneering at polling places. In one case, the posters for the Democrats were actually inside the polling place. It's just a completely wide-open, crooked election. And the attitude of the government and the corporate media, it seems to be, we're going to anoint Hillary Empress of the United States. We dare you to do anything about it.
Wow, I hope that's not true. I hope it's not true. You would think they would target a state other than, like, Georgia, for example. I mean, you would think Georgia would definitely go Republican. Yeah, I mean, I would understand if they were targeting North Carolina or Florida.
Well, they're definitely doing that, but here's the problem. Hillary this last week has been forced to campaign in what were considered traditional blue states because they're now in play. And so Hillary's campaign has sort of retaliated by going into traditional red states and trying to flip them over to balance it all out.
Wow. I saw the scum of the earth Soros the other night on an interview, and he basically projected that Trump would win in a landslide but would lose the Electoral College. And it was disgusting.
Yes, it is.
I was thoroughly disgusted to hear that.
I refuse to live in a world under the control of George Soros, or for that matter, any other money junkie. Take your money and go make somebody else miserable.
Yeah, it's so funny how we're supposed to be one of the most advanced countries in the whole world, but our whole election system is fraudulent. It's just amazing, and we also have, 75% of the people just walking around not even focused on it. They're basically watching football and baseball and playing with their electronics.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that last part. I think the majority of Americans are very much awake to what's going on, or they'd be getting higher than 6% in those polls about whether the public trusts the media or not.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. I had an event today, and just when I'm looking around, it's like a lot of people I know voted for Trump. Even Hispanics. A lot of Hispanics I know voted for Trump. Educated people voted for Trump. It's I don't know. I think they came in and they tried to act like, well, it's uneducated, white, racist men that are blue collar workers are basically Trump's foundation. But I think everyone is very sick of what's going on.
Yes.
Let's just hope that we can make something happen.
We can certainly hope here, because my concern, and I'm hearing this from so many other people, my concern is if that Hillary steals this election, it could trigger a revolution in this country. And maybe that's going to be a good thing. Like Thomas Jefferson said, every once in a while you got to go through that. But we're already seeing violence, not just the violence at the rallies and the violence stealing signs and everything. There was at least one fist fight and pepper spraying where a Clinton supporter attacked a Trump supporter. And again, this is the new public face of the Democratic Party, thanks to Hillary Clinton, the party of the petty thieves, the computer hackers, the sign stealers,
the real racists,
the real deplorables,
the real ones, and it's so clear to see that. Like, she came to a rally here in Florida, and I was told that they had a bunch of white supremacists running around with their Confederate flags, driving around in trucks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know that was Hillary that paid those people to be at her event.
Yeah, it's in the Podesta emails. It's in the Podesta emails.
Yeah.
All of that stuff was being staged.
Yeah, and it's not only in Hillary's events that she's paying those people. She's paying people to go into Trump's rallies and start crap, and she's also paying people to be in her own rallies to make it look like there's people starting crap. And it's pathetic, and that's basically the soup that's brewing right now. It's her campaign that put all the components in there, and it's pathetic.
And by the way, this is a copy of what Adolf Hitler did with his brown shirts to attain power in Germany, and that's a red warning flag. Because if Hillary Clinton is going into the campaign using Nazi tactics, she's not going to change when she gets the White House. She's going to continue with that same mindset.
That's right, and they use the same tactics. It does not matter which party they're attacking, the same tactic, and it's obvious. It's the same thing, just like with all the false flags that go on. They're always doing a drill.
Yeah, there's always a drill, and then it will go live and everything. All right, well, listen, Alex,
bye.
Well, okay, I was going to say we're coming up on a commercial break, and you've got about 20 seconds left here, but thank you for the phone call. We're going to let you go. We got more callers waiting. I'm going to get to them when we come back from the commercial, but meanwhile, there's a video on the front page of whatreallyhappened.com, if you can get to it, of the Russia's new Sukhoi PAK-FA fighter. It's a fifth-generation fighter. It's going into service now. It has the ability to detect any U.S. stealth aircraft and engage it. I guess they learned an awful lot by the pieces of the F-117 that they acquired after one got shot down in Kosovo. So, all right, we got to take a break for commercials. We'll be back after these few words. And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And I'm looking at an email that just came in. My son is working at an exit poll taker here in Ohio. The news channel has been there most of the afternoon and evening, and they will not talk to him. They refuse to interview him. They know it's not what they want to hear. So apparently the exit polls are definitely not going to line up with the official result. We'll all be told that the voters lied to the exit pollsters. Of course, they were embarrassed to admit they had voted for Hillary Clinton, for whatever they're going to say for this nonsense. I believe Jeff in Ottawa is our next phone call. Jeff, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, I just want to talk about the election. I've been a long-time listener to you. I think that this is really kind of the last chance for the United States. Up here, we use paper ballots. You go in, you have to identify yourself. They take a ruler, they put a red line through it. You get the ballot, you put in the paper in the box, and that box stays there until everything is counted, doesn't move. All the lights are on. Nobody comes in or out of the back door. And I've had friends who've overseen some of these elections locally. So they have it so rigged now that this is really the last chance. If she gets in, she'll stack the Supreme Court. She's already got the justice system and everybody else under her thumb, and I just don't see any way out without some sort of major pushback, and it could lead to violence. I mean, what are you going to do when peaceful change becomes impossible?
Well, it's like John F. Kennedy said, those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable, and he's absolutely right. And I hate to see that it coming to the United States of America, but it's not up to us to decide. How violent it's going to get is totally in the hands of these corrupt politicians. By the way, I just got another email. This one's from Brooklyn. Apparently, this is a report. District 10 in Brooklyn at PS 97, they've caught people trying to vote multiple times.
Yeah, and so it's something that seems to be, I've heard other reports too, going on all across the country. And all I can say is that if he's able to get in, I sure hope that he is, for not only for the United States but for the rest of the world, for world peace. Because I heard on another talk show that if he is elected, he said that he would go right over before he was inaugurated and speak to Putin. So with her, you're going to get war, and this is just a terrible situation. I think that if he can get in, I think that what they have to do is they have to radically change the electoral system in the United States, and that means getting rid of the electronic
I agree.
Voting machines completely and go totally paper ballot. I don't care if it takes 2 days. I care that every vote is counted and that the will of the American people comes through loud and clear.
I absolutely
this is like
agree.
A third world country.
If Trump is able to overcome the election fraud tonight, okay, my top priority for the next 2 years is going to be getting our current election system thrown out and replaced with something the American people can have some faith in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that he doesn't concede, although I see no real path for him even if he doesn't concede, because I think that what will happen is who are they going to go to? The Justice Department? I mean, the entire...
This could wind up in the Supreme Court, but it could wind up with a split decision because there's only 8 justices.
Sure.
Thanks an awful lot, Jeff. We got to let you go. Got to take a break for station identification. More phone calls after these few words. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. We've got callers waiting on the line. Before I get there, though, getting a report from Brooklyn again, from election site 11535, apparently, and there's a photo to back this up, the poll workers are wearing Black Lives Matter's shirts, and apparently Republicans are being physically assaulted at this location. Real brown shirt tactics. All right, Dustin in New Jersey, thank you for waiting. What's on your mind? Dustin, are you there?
Yeah, hi, Mike. How you doing? On that explosion at the power plant substation, I'm pretty sure that was an accident.
Okay.
The guy who fell off the Russian consulate, he wasn't the CEO of Clinton Foundation, was he?
No, he wasn't, and he was beaten to death, though, and I wonder what he knew about Hillary Clinton.
But I don't know if you talked about this yet. The Russian carriers are already in place to do further airstrikes into Aleppo. I think they're going to go to Raqqa. I think they're going to do it by the weekend, Mike.
Well, my understanding is it's basically underway. They're going to do it while the American public is fixated on the election. It's happening basically starting now.
And I voted for Trump. I'm a Democrat. I'm proud of it. If Hillary gets in, you can kiss this country goodbye, because she's going to be letting in all the illegal aliens, all the refugees, open borders, George Soros, et cetera, et cetera. So people better go and vote, get off your butt and vote.
You can kiss the country goodbye, because she's going to get us into wars that we can't win, and we'll go nuclear.
It will, Mike, because
this woman is not right in the head. This woman is not right in the head. She's got holes, in her brain. If you x-rayed her brain, it would look like Swiss cheese.
She's not right in the head. But the people around her, neoliberal, neocons, money junkies, they're not right in the head either. We're in a dangerous spot in history.
We are.
People need to realize that. All these things are happening right now. The election, the war, the economy, everything's coming into a conclusion until the next system develops. You know what I mean? The next economic system, if we survive. So people got to go and vote, because this is very important. It's like, get off your butt and vote. Don't worry about Kim Kardashian, Monday Night Football, Tuesday night basketball, whatever the hell you're watching. Those TV shows are irrelevant. This is important. This is every 4 years you have a chance to make a difference. Maybe, maybe not, but it's your right to do so. And you need to go out and do this.
This is our last chance to peacefully put this nation back on track to being a constitutional republic with a democratically elected government. If Hillary steals this, it is all over. We're going to be the new Nazi power, the new Soviet Union, whatever you want to describe, and we're going to find ourselves in World War III, and we are going to lose it.
And look at this cheating going on. It's unbelievable. I mean, like, this is beyond Banana Republic, Mike. This is embarrassment. I go in the Daily Mail, and they're laughing at us. The world is laughing at us.
They are.
And you can think Obama, Bush, Hillary Clinton, the money junkies, the neocon. I blame David Cameron, Tony Blair, and the other idiots, Angela Merkel and Hollande. Hey, Hollande, how you like your tent cities down in downtown Paris, you moron? You know,
well, you know what's going. The
like
reason for the laughter. The reason for the laughter is very, very simple. The United States has held itself up in its public image as the bastion of democracy and human rights and civilized government for decade and decade, and now all of a sudden the facade has slipped and shown the world what the U.S. government is really like, and they're laughing because of the sheer utter hypocrisy of it and the perception that this is the beginning of the fall. This is the beginning of the fall of the American empire.
The only problem is we're in the middle of the fall. People don't realize it. The Roman Empire fell. You had the Dark Ages after that. Who knows what we're going to have, a world war, nuclear? But we can have, like, civil unrest, economic unrest. People don't realize this. I mean,
we could have a new Dark Ages. I mean, you know, if the American empire falls and the global economic system falls and it all starts to crumble, plus we're looking at a new little ice age, we could literally see a whole new Dark Ages take hold.
And remember, the United States has the supposed, world reserve currency, but, when we go, so there's pretty much the whole Western world. That's why Russia and China have been buying gold. Their countries have been separating. Brazil, the BRICS, you know the routine. But, that's why they've been moving away, because when we go, it's going to be really horrendous. And I just hope Trump gets in, and this cheating is just crazy with the women throwing their clothes. I mean, this is, Mike, like you said, brown shirt, insanity, Jay-Z, all these people, they're getting paid all these millions of dollars to come out. That's how much they support Hillary. You got to pay me $67 million. I'll support you.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. They wouldn't show up on that stage until they got a huge amount of money. We're going to take a moment here to do a shout-out to our on-air affiliates. We're still talking about the election. We're talking about reports of massive election fraud all across the country, all of it favoring Hillary Clinton. And, Dustin, we're going to let you go. Thank you very much for the phone call, and we're going to go to Bob in Indiana. Aloha, Bob. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, this is Bob in Indiana.
Yes?
And I'd like to know that I just made it to the polling place. It's dark and wet and cold here in Indiana, and my wife got my wheelchair out, and we went down there, and they checked my ID at the door, checked my photo ID at the check-in place, and then there was a little silence, and then the woman said, "What's your address?" And I gave it to her, and she said, "You've already voted." And I said, "Good. That's what I'm checking on." And I was the only one wearing red.
Okay. Somebody had already voted using your stolen ID. That's
no. 10 days ago I went down to the city.
Oh, I see. I see. All right. Well, that's a good check for you to be performing there as well. Anyway, thank you for doing that, especially with the hardship that you're having to deal with. And thank you for double checking. We all need to double check.
I had one more thing.
One more?
One more thing. What's to prevent the Democrats from having a false flag of violence and blaming it on Trump?
Absolutely nothing, because they've already done it.
Oh, dear. Thanks, Mike. See you later.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. Let's see. Trump is rejecting purposely wrong polls, showing a tight race, which we know the corporate media has been oversampling, Democrats oversampling women. They're manufacturing a poll to convince you that when Hillary steals the election that it was close enough where you don't really know. We know Trump is way out ahead, and Hillary's going to try and reverse a landslide, and that is a very dangerous and reckless thing to be doing. Let's see. We already talked about the poll workers here. Tucker Carlson is doing a last-second chastisement of Republicans to get on the Trump bandwagon, and stop holding out hope for Ted Cruz to step in and save anything. Okay, let's see. One more phone call. Ty in Wisconsin, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike, I hope this is true. I saw a post on Facebook from Rotlin, ROTTLIN.com, that shows a picture of Wolf Blitzer. It says that there's an intern working for CNN sent out a snapshot post of a screen grab of Wolf Blitzer doing a pre-recorded segment on the unprecedented Trump victory in Florida.
Well, it sounds good, but remember, we're expecting them to play dirty tricks to get Trump voters to stay home. And so if they come on out and spread the word that Trump has already won in Florida, then Trump's voters will stay home for the rest of the day and would allow Hillary to go ahead. So my advice is ignore this nonsense, because anything coming out of the Hillary campaign or the corporate media is designed to give the election to her. If you're in Florida and you're a Trump supporter, go out and vote anyway. Don't let Wolf Blitzer trick you into staying home, because don't forget, Wolf Blitzer, like Donna Brazile, was feeding the Hillary campaign questions ahead of time to give her an advantage in the debates and town hall meetings. So Wolf Blitzer is just as crooked as Donna Brazile, so I wouldn't give this any credence. This was sent to me earlier in the day that Trump had won Florida, and I put it in the bit bucket. Because I'm not going to run anything about how Trump or Hillary is winning anywhere. I'm not going to cover any of this stuff until the final numbers start coming on in, which will be basically about the time that we end our show. We're going to start seeing hard numbers. But again, this is the dirtiest election we've ever seen, and the corporate media is out there trying to figure out ways they can get the Hillary voters out there to the polling places and trick the Trump voters into staying home. And this seems to fit that, because if they were going to declare Trump had won Florida, they'd be doing it on the air, not with a leak on Facebook.
Yeah, I agree with you, absolutely. The door swings both ways, though. Why would they put this out there? Because it would also keep the Hillary supporters at home.
You're right. It might actually do that unless somebody had already spread the word through Hillary's social media. Pay no attention. We're going to bluff those deplorable Trump voters into staying home. We don't know. So play it safe.
Play it. Vote Trump.
Play it safe.
Call your friends. Call your people on Facebook. No, get out there and keep voting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. You're absolutely right. Keep voting. Get out there and vote. Don't listen to anybody's projections or predictions. Just get out there and vote. It isn't over until it's really over. And even then, in the current case, it may not be over. We may wind up in the court system. This could be another Florida 2000 debacle. We might not even know who we're supposed to think is the president until sometime around Christmas time, the way things are going. Okay, so we're going to get back here to the news. A little bit of economic news here. We talked about this the other day. Normally, if you're running a business, your rule of thumb is management should never exceed 10% of the productive workforce. It's the guide by which Japanese businesses operate, not so much American businesses anymore. They tend to be management top heavy, because all those top executives have got nieces and nephews, and, the nieces and nephews of their favorite congressmen who need jobs and everything. So they get kind of bogged down at the top. But as a whole, in the nation, right now, government workers outnumber manufacturing workers by 9,977,000. That is absolutely unsustainable. We have a top-heavy society where everybody is a regulator, a politician, a governor, a manufacturer, and they're sitting on this little tiny base of people who actually make things. And they're screaming at them, make more, we've got to be more productive. Well, get down here and make something. I can't do that. I'm management. I'm the vice president in charge of conformance with compliance expectations. Okay, Ralph in Arkansas. Aloha, Ralph. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Ralph, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you're on the air. What's on your mind today?
Oh, I just wondering if we ever do get over this hump here in the United States, and you see all the problems we've had with corruption in the voting system and people cheating on everything. I was wondering who and will we do in the future to guard that this doesn't happen again, all this corruption? Some things needs to change.
They absolutely do need to change, yes. Well, at this point, I think our current government is clearly irredeemable, and it's unrepentant, and I think we're just going to have to wait for this government to come crashing down the way the former Soviet Union did, and then we have to be ready to build a whole new government with better safeguards in it, starting with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and we can make some minor changes, like we don't need an electoral college. We have the technology for more direct participatory democracy, where the people get to vote on more of the issues and the government is reduced to a caretaker role, which was what the original design intent was by the Founding Fathers. And I think if there had been computers and internets back in 1776, the framers of the Constitution would have given that central federal government even less authority than they did. And that's what we need to have. And we absolutely, and this is going to be my top priority for the next 2 years, we need an absolutely verifiable, honest, open, transparent election system that the American people can trust. And the only way they're going to trust it is by being able to look at it and follow their vote all the way along from bottom to top. And we don't need electronic counting machines. We don't need tabulation centers. It can be done. I've put together an outline on how it can be done. And we need to get rid of this current system. We need to take sledgehammers to those electronic machines is what we need to do.
Amen to that. I live in a, area in Arkansas that's kind of notorious for corrupt voting, and I kind of spoke up and not necessarily that about some of the drug problems in this area, and I wound up being a targeted individual. I've been one for over 10 years.
Well, you get used to it after a while.
I guess it gets pretty rough sometimes, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it does.
Top matters off. I've got to where I can't walk anymore. I'm kind of I can walk 20 foot to my car, and that's about it. But just getting handicapped is for the birds. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm very fortunate that at my age, my health is still relatively good. I did have a near miss about 2-3 years ago. But I have this lovely wife, Claire, who takes care of me and pours vitamins down my throat and talks me out of my various bad habits.
That's good. I've heard your voice before on John's radio show before, I think. If I'm...
Yeah, I've been on his show. He's been on my show. I've been around for a while. Next year's going to be my 10th anniversary in talk radio.
Right. I don't know if you know, this probably doesn't have anything. If a person was a member of a VFW, and this was back in 1994, and see, they were one of the commanders at this Cabot, Cabot, Arkansas. They kind of let me in because I'd been to Korea, but I always thought it was for the veterans of foreign wars. Unless you were in a war, that you're not supposed to be in one of them. I didn't know if what the policy is on that.
I wouldn't know either because I've never served in a war, foreign or otherwise. During Vietnam, I had an occupational deferment.
Right. Well, I appreciate you taking my call, and I hope things turn out for everybody in this country, and I hope some people are praying that things are going to turn out the way they should.
Well, time will solve that mystery. I mean, obviously, it's a very stressful day for Claire and I because, we have been up against the Clinton-Bush cartel for 22 going on 23 years, and we would like to see an end to that era. Would allow us to relax a little bit more and focus on, some other things. But, there's a bright side. If Hillary steals the election, I've got job security for the next 8 years. Okay?
Well, all right. Well, you have a good day, and thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, and we're going to let you go. Now then, this story makes me absolutely sick, and it's partly because Claire and I are involved in a couple of food programs for school children and homeless and hungry right here on the island of Oahu. And they're talking about this event. This is from the Free Thought Project. Over in Kansas City, every year for the last 5 years, volunteers have run this thing called the Cooker's Care. It's a group of barbecue chefs, and they basically have this big cookout festival, at the end of which they will feed thousands of homeless people. This year, the Kansas City health inspectors came in at the end of the cook-off when the festivities were over. Even though the food had been perfectly fine to serve to the people who were there at the Cooker's Care barbecue, the city health inspector said, we can't approve this for distribution to the homeless, and demanded they pour bleach all over it and put it into the dumpsters. 3,000 homeless people who were expecting to be fed that food went hungry because of the Kansas City health inspectors. This was perfectly good food. It had just been cooked, and they were ordered to throw it in the trash bins and pour bleach on it so it couldn't be eaten. Because, by golly, if those homeless people want to eat, they have to go to the supermarkets and buy their food. Giving food away is bad for the economy. What's wrong with you people? We'll be right back after these few words. Aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And apparently over in Winter Park, Florida, one of the polling places located at 760 North Lakemont has been evacuated due to a suspicious package call. Police and fire are on the scene right now. Polls are going to be closing in Florida in approximately 36 minutes from now. Now then, according to a story in Blacklisted News, a hacker claims to take down the Russian bank websites on Election Day. And again, there's a lot of hacking going on. My server, WikiLeaks, Twitter, all kinds of skullduggery on the net going on. Where's the NSA that's supposed to be guarding the security and reliability of our infrastructure? Don't seem to be around much of anywhere at all these days. We were talking about that blast at the power station. Apparently the entire city of Murmansk is now without electricity. Now, here's a weird story, and it tells you how far we've gone overboard into the victim status. We were talking about how on October 30th, there was an armed man and two others who attempted to rob a Pizza Hut restaurant in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, one of the armed robbers, an armed robber who had a gun, was shot and killed by a Pizza Hut employee using a legally owned handgun. Now, the parents of the armed robber are they're out there saying, how dare he shoot our son just because he's trying to rob the place? What's wrong? I thought you were out there to ban guns. And it's ridiculous. It's part of this mindset that only the criminals should be allowed to have guns. Because, after all, a criminal government depends on those criminals in the streets to keep that whole drug machine fed. It's ridiculous. Meanwhile, up in Washington State, gun owners had a huge disobedience rally, the largest one in America's history, during which they burned their concealed weapons permits and signed a petition saying they will not follow any more gun control laws. And the petition ended with a very simple text, we pledge our blood, we will not comply. I think that might become a rallying cry for Americans on a wide variety of issues, especially if we have a stolen election. And for all you carbon Nazis, members of the global warming cult, the First Church of St. Al of the Gore, it is snowing in France. The ski slopes are happy they're going to open up early. And there's even snow falling on Paris right now. NASA is now admitting that the sea ice around Antarctica has reached a new record maximum. The Antarctic ice pack is growing. Remember when Al Gore said the Arctic ice cap would be ice-free in the summer of 2014? Didn't happen. Ice is getting thicker up there. We're talking about the indications coming out of Siberia that the Old Farmer's Almanac was absolutely correct in their prediction. It's going to be another cold, brutal winter. And already the carbon Nazis are out there saying, don't you understand? Global warming makes snow and ice. How can you not understand that? So, Now, back at Fukushima, as you know, that is a problem that is not going to go away. In fact, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And apparently, investigators are starting to look into the actual construction of the power plant, and they're discovering what are described as serious anomalies in key steel components for the European pressurized water reactor being constructed at Flamanville, France on the English Channel. And the reason they're looking for this is because there have been revelations that the company that provided these parts also provided components for the Fukushima reactor. And now they're saying that this French and Japanese flawed steel may result in more Fukushimas. This is right out of the movie The China Syndrome. Substandard steel, substandard welding. We'll be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. We're getting a report from Westmoreland County Republican Committee. This is in Pennsylvania. They are already taking voting machines out of service and replacing them with paper ballots because the machines are malfunctioning, switching Republican votes to Democrat. And they're putting out a call if you're having any problems with your votes being incorrect. They're saying, look at that last screen. That shows your voting result, what goes into the final tally. If it's not accurate, fix it. If you can't fix it, tell the polling workers. If you're in Pennsylvania and you're having any kind of problem with the election system, the number to call, grab your pencil, 724-836-0570. One more time in Pennsylvania, if you've got a problem with the electronic voting machines stealing your vote and giving it to the Democrats, 724-836-0570. This is completely out of control. It's completely out of control. All right, we're going to take a phone call. Charles in St. Petersburg, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, I didn't point something out. I didn't know if you pointed out it already in the show, but Alex Jones's Infowars.com is off the air. Even the I don't know if you're aware of that.
No, I wasn't. I tend not to go to his website when I'm doing my own broadcast here. Actually, the page just came up here, but in all probability, it's a lot like my situation where my website's going up and down and up and down. The hackers are trying to shut it down. My automated security software puts it back up, and so it's a bit of a fist fight. But we know there's a lot of this hacking going on. In fact, WikiLeaks is now saying that their servers are under such severe distributed denial of service attack. That's why they've not been able to come out with the latest and final dump of Podesta emails. And this is the problem when you announce ahead of time what you're going to do. WikiLeaks was saying on election day, we will dump the stuff that will put Hillary Clinton in jail. Of course you're going to be a target. You were rolling out the red carpet and saying you were going to be a target. They should have had alternative sites set up ready to go with this information. And Julian Assange has done a lot of good, but he does love to grandstand and he loves to promote his own image and glory, and I think that's a tremendous weakness.
Yeah, another thing gets me is this Gordon Duff at Veterans Today, he defending Hillary and making up all this stuff, these cockamamie excuses.
Yeah, we've kind of fallen out of friendship with his website, and what's really kind of interesting is if you look at the people who are still defending Hillary Clinton, they're making utter fools of themselves. They don't have anything to work with. Hillary has not given them anything that they can actually get traction with, except to go on screaming that Donald Trump is the next Mussolini and the next Hitler, and we're all burned out on that stuff. Especially the young people, they haven't been raised with that mandated public school brainwashing about the Holocaust and the Nazis, and so for them it's just it's a non-issue. Big Hitler and Mussolini, and let's look who's really acting like Hitler with brown shirt tactics, disrupting the other guy's rallies, and again, Hillary's people are projecting.
Right. Yeah, thuggy thugs. Hello?
Yes, you're on the air.
Oh, I thought I got cut off there.
No. I wouldn't do that to you.
No.
I mean, without a really good reason.
Some hack attack or something. I wouldn't say that.
Well, the phone call is on a completely separate system from the server, so so far they haven't figured out a way to disrupt our program.
Yeah, Gordon Duff said it's really I would think he and anybody that would be for the Democrats, vote Democrat, no regardless, vote for Hillary, would think, I mean, she's the lunatic that wants to start World War III, no-fly zone over Syria,
Well, there's a larger context. There's a larger context here. And what we have is an entrenched, oligarchical, self-sustaining, self-perpetuating establishment that has ruled this country for 30 years. And they've ruled it very, very badly for us and very well for themselves. They've become insanely rich at the expense of the American people and a lot of foreign countries like Haiti. And they don't want to give up that power. They don't want to give up that ride. They don't want to give up the fame and the glory and all the rest of that. And they don't want a little thing like democracy and the will of the people to get in their way. They don't think democracy and the will of the people should get in their way. They know what's best for the nation. And this democracy thing is that's just the mob speaking, and we, the emperor and the imperial court, we know what's best. And so this is more than just a fight between Trump and Clinton. This is more than a fight between GOP and Democrat. It is literally the entire American people against this oligarchical, fascist economic dictatorship of the money junkies. And they will do anything to hang on to power, and that's anything with a capital A.
Is this war on terror going to go on forever, go on 100 years or 150 years?
It's going to go on as long as they can get away with it. They're going to, when the American people are saying, this is ridiculous, you can't have a war on a noun, when the American people stand up and say, look, you're funding all these terrorists you keep telling us we're at war with, then it will fade away.
They just keep denying, we're just pure as the driven snow.
Well, we know that that's certainly not true, and when the American people walk into our government buildings, grab the liars, and bounce them down those outside stairs 3 or 4 times, they might start to realize that truth is actually a virtue. But they're not going to come to that conclusion prior to such an event, unfortunately. Lying gets them what they want. It's easy to lie. It gets them what they want. It's not illegal for them to lie. If the politicians lie to us, it's politics. If we lie to them, it's perjury. And that's part of the problem. We now have a double standard in the law. The law only applies to the slaves and the serfs. The nobility are above the law, and that's the way it should be, according to the nobility.
Right. Well, we fell for W. Bush and the Patriot Act.
I don't know that we fell for W. Bush. I don't know that we fell for George W. Bush. We don't know who won that election, remember? He was installed by the Supreme Court.
Right, of course. But then we fell for Obama, or I'm just using we collectively. I didn't. But I was on to Obama.
It's not like we had much of a choice. It was Obama or McCain. And I'm sick and tired of choosing the lesser of two evils because it's still going to be evil, and it's a stupid way to run a country. And, McCain had Caribou Barbie as his vice presidential running mate. I mean, what was the man thinking?
Well, yeah, just gets me, though, that when Obama was here in Tampa in 2008, he admitted he was a cousin of both W. Bush and Cheney, who are both cousins of each other.
Well,
it seems like all in the family.
Yeah, ruling families. Look at the genealogy of the ruling families of Europe. Everybody is somebody's cousin. I think King George V was cousin to Tsar Nicholas of Alexander. They actually looked quite a bit alike. And they're trying to bring back hereditary ruling families. In this case, the Bushes and the Clintons. And I think we need to move beyond that. There shouldn't be inherited power in this country. And looking at George Soros and some of the other money junkies, I'm beginning to think inherited wealth is not a particularly good idea. Anyway, listen, we're going to let you go here and switch to David. Is it Bob? Who's next? Bob is next, I think. Bob in Colorado, are you there?
Aloha, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing fine. What's on your mind?
Okay, the reason I called, a friend of mine just called from outside of Philadelphia to tell me he voted, and that's where I'm originally from, outside of Philly, Delaware County. And he said he went ahead and voted and walked up to the table and gave his name, address, and they said, okay, here's your ballot. He goes, well, aren't you going to ask me for ID? They said, well, haven't you been here before? He goes, well, how do you know who I am? All I did was give you my name and address. She goes, well, we figured you've been here before. You don't need ID. And he just thought it was absolutely insane. They're not asking for ID, which, of course, is what this is all about anyway.
Yes.
Is anybody can vote for anything you want. Hopefully, push number one for Hillary. But it's definitely going on. There is no question about it, Michael. This is just absolutely insane. But since we have Trump already with things in line for lawsuits and everything else, hopefully maybe something will be exposed for this whole big, monstrous abomination that we have going. So I just want to let you know, I thought it was just really amazing that they don't really care who you are as long as you come in and push number one button. So,
well,
aloha and have a great day.
Yeah, that's the big lie. You know, push a button will tell you who your rulers are, but I don't think that works anymore when the American people have lost trust in their election system. And that's actually a good thing because that's a foundation to build on. Like I said, if Trump is able to overcome the election fraud, and the early numbers are starting to look like he's got a huge, huge margin in some of the states that are coming up to the close of the polls. My top priority going forward is going to be to demand a complete top-to-bottom overhaul of our election system and produce something the American people can have trust and confidence in because they'll be able to look inside and see what's going on. And that's the only way they're going to trust the election system is to be able to look inside and see what's going on here. Bob, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to David in Tucson. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the hacking. My mother-in-law used to work at the Federal Reserve in El Paso. And, man, they get hacked into more than anybody on earth. Once a month, they would go through the entire office, snatch out every hard drive, and in the basement, they got a machine that crunches them. They would crunch them, and then a guard would take them over to a foundry, and they'd melt them down. Once every 30 days.
That doesn't sound to me like they're dealing with a hacker. It sounds to me like they're concealing some kind of information. Because you don't need...
The way they did that was like when you work at the missile factories, it's need to know. She knew hardly anything, and no single person there knows everything except for about 2 or 3 managers. And they know what's going on. Otherwise, nobody knows anything. And if you start sneaking around and asking questions of your fellow workers, oh, my God, you're out of there in a flash. That's not even an actual Federal Reserve Bank. That's just like a satellite, El Paso. They don't get their little letter on the bills and stuff.
Yeah, that's not dealing with a hacker. That's dealing with hiding information that the American people are never supposed to find out about. Which, again, we know...
Sure. And then here's another little secret no one ever tells you and you never hear about. When the banks start business in the morning, they need 100,000 or 500, whatever it is. They got to request money from the Federal Reserve. Well, they have to buy it.
Yes.
In other words, you can't give $100,000 to get $100,000 worth of cash. You have to give them like $105,000. You have to pay for the cash.
Well, it's loaned out at interest. I mean, that's what makes...
No, I'm not talking a loan. I'm talking just to get some. Just to, like you got an account, you can write a check or whatever. Your bank, your little bank.
You're saying there's a premium on the physical cash. Okay.
Yes. Then they never tell. They keep that one real secret.
Well, certainly the first time I'd heard about it. But we know the Federal Reserve are a bunch of crooks.
I never knew that either. It would be like if I won the lottery and went down to get $1 million. Well, you're going to have to give us $10,000 for that cash.
Yeah. Well, if they want to give me $1 million, I'll gladly give them $10,000 back.
Well, here we go. Another one of these deals. I don't know. I'm on the edge of my seat. This is more fun than the Cubs game.
I wouldn't describe it as fun, but Claire and I are definitely on the edge of our seats here because we figure if Hillary steals the election, we're going to find a drone over our house in the very near future. All right, we're gonna let you go there, David. All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch to James in Ireland. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. How's things? I just sent you an email there with a link. Here in Ireland, we had the electronic voting machines, but we all objected, and they were put aside and put into storage for years. It cost us $54 million for the voting machines, and they were scrapped for €9.30 each to a recycling centre there pretty recently.
Ooh, I would have bought one just to have as a display item in my living room, in my man cave, which I don't actually have, but... Yeah.
Do you know what? Tomorrow I intend checking to see, are they available for sale from the recycling company?
I was joking. I don't actually have room to put one in my house here, but it's definitely something that would be a collectible item.
Yeah, but it's just electronic voting. We couldn't trust it.
Well, good for the Irish. The Irish have always had a great deal of common sense. I know I'm married to an Irish lady, and this is a classic case of the Irish being incredibly smart.
Oh, thank you. Nice to hear you're one of us.
Yes, she is. She plays Irish harp.
Oh no way.
Way?
Wow, we've a guy cycles around with a trailer with a full-size Irish harp on the back that he does busking around the town.
Yeah, Claire's harp is full size. It's 33 strings. I know because I have to tune it and restring it. If you go to her website, mellophilia.net, and you go to the About page, there's a bunch of pictures. You'll see the harp. It's a very beautiful harp. It's got inlays of koi fish on the sounding board, and it's a beautiful, beautiful instrument. And I'm in the process of restringing it right now.
And where was it made?
It was made by Triplet Harps in California, and it was special made for Claire. It's made with maritime glue, so the Hawaii salt air will not tear it apart.
Oh, very good, very good, very good. Oh, that's very nice to hear that, actually.
All right, well, thank you very much.
You're doing a wonderful job. Keep it up, and give Claire my best.
I certainly will. I'll give you your best. And we're going to switch over here to Mike in Colorado. Aloha, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Early results from NBC, Indiana 2% reporting, Trump 69, Clinton 27. 3% reporting in Kentucky, Trump 65, Clinton 30.
Okay. I'm not really going to be paying attention to the numbers until they've got like 20 to 30% reporting, because then they can jump all over the place. Because somebody sent me the first returns from Kentucky, and Trump was up at 80%. It's just too volatile in those early numbers. But it is looking hopeful. I'm cautiously optimistic that Trump is going to overcome the election fraud, and we are going to break this nation free from this fascist economic dictatorship we've lived under for the last 30 years.
Well, I say great, and I say be totally optimistic, and let's give all the good vibes out there. Thanks for the great show. Have a good night.
All right, thanks an awful lot here. And if you have not voted, you get out there and vote, or you're not allowed to listen to my radio show ever again. We'll be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Last segment of our program on this election day here, and the Tantrum Squad is still pounding on my server. And you know something? I don't even care anymore. Everybody knows what they know. The voting is underway. The polls are going to start closing, and if they just want to take out their rage and frustration on my server overnight, it's not going to change a single thing. And at this point, I'm past caring here. Now then, again, I'm going to exhort you one more time. If you have not voted, shame on you. You are part of the problem. Forget about all these news reports about how Trump is already won someplace or Hillary is hopelessly ahead. It's all designed to trick the Trump voters into staying at home. You need to get on out there. You need to vote. You need to wear your red shirts. It is not enough for Trump to win. He must win in a landslide so that nobody's going to be thinking about finding some way to try and challenge it or invalidate it. We're already hearing that people are concerned Obama is going to say, well, Russia hacked the election, therefore it's invalid. Oh, well, if Russia's hacking the election, how come all the fraud favors Hillary Clinton? Is all of a sudden Vladimir Putin on Hillary Clinton's side? just like he was during the primaries. All right, we're going to take one more phone call before the end of the day. Michelle in Florida, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I just wanted to tell you, I just saw that there's a shooting at a polling place in Azusa, California.
Okay.
Heavily armed. It's on Alex Jones, the live feed.
All right, let me take a look at that.
It says one dead, multiple people shot.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. One dead, multiple people shot near Azusa polling station. Active shooter heavily armed, officials say. And they're dealing with one suspect. I mean, this
I just wanted to let you know.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot. I'm sorry to see this happening. We've been already seeing these reports of Hillary Clinton supporters pepper spraying and attacking Trump supporters. I don't know if this is more of the same or something else is going on. But it shows how this crooked election campaign has divided the nation. Nobody on either side has any confidence that the will of the people has actually been expressed. And too many people are out there saying, I have to be right, and they're now turning to violence. If Hillary steals this election, it could literally trigger a revolution in this country. I don't want to see that, but it's really not up to me anymore. That's just the way it is. Anyway, Michelle.
And also,
yeah.
The other thing I was just going to say is, a false flag. I mean, we've been, hearing a lot, you just expect that might happen today, and so this might be what that is. I mean, I'm not. Could
very well be. They might say this is a Trump supporter who did it. I mean, I would put nothing past these people right now. Michelle, got to let you go. There's the music time for Claire and I to get on out of here and watch the returns come on in. We'll be back tomorrow here on the Republic Broadcasting Network. And get out there and vote. Vote, 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 vote. If you haven't voted, you are part of the problem. Wear your red clothing. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.